Hercule Poirot stood in the centre of his modest London office, his sharp eyes glancing over the papers in front of him. The case was simple in appearance, a robbery gone wrong, or so it seemed. But as Poirot looked closer, he could feel the subtle complexity of it, as if it were something more. His mind, always keen to unravel mysteries, was already at work, piecing together the information, searching for something hidden beneath the surface. But this time, something was different. This was no ordinary case. It had started like any other. A wealthy businessman, Mr. George Lockwood, had been the victim of what appeared to be a burglary. A few pieces of valuable jewelry had gone missing from his estate, and nothing appeared to be out of place, except for one thing. The security system had been bypassed with no sign of forced entry, and the guards stationed at the property had reported nothing unusual. Even the housekeeper, who had been in the building at the time, hadn't noticed a thing. The perfect crime. It seemed almost too perfect. Poirot had initially dismissed it as another simple theft, a matter of tracing the stolen goods and catching the culprit. But as soon as he stepped foot in the opulent mansion, his trained eye had caught something strange, a faint disturbance in the air, a whisper of a scent that didn't belong. Poirot wasn't easily fooled by appearances, and the more he thought about the case, the more it bothered him. A crime this flawless, this meticulously executed, spoke of a mind far more sophisticated than any ordinary thief. And it was that mind, that perfect criminal, that Poirot was now determined to find. Captain Hastings, as ever, stood by his side, though he was far more skeptical. Hastings was a man of action, of straightforward approaches, and he was puzzled by Poirot's unusual attention to detail. "Poirot, surely is just a matter of finding the thief and recovering the goods," Hastings remarked, his tone a mix of disbelief and curiosity. "Why are you so certain there's something more to it?" Poirot looked up at his old friend, his expression calm yet resolute. "Ah, Hastings, this is no ordinary crime. A thief who can leave no trace, who can bypass every security measure and then simply disappear. This is a criminal who is playing a game with us." Hastings raised an eyebrow. "A game? But we're just looking for the thief. How could there be a game involved?" Poirot's lips curled into a small smile, the glint in his eyes betraying his excitement. "Because, my dear Hastings, the perfect crime is never truly perfect. It is a puzzle that demands to be solved. The clues are there, you see, hidden in plain sight, and I shall uncover them one by one." Poirot had begun his investigation by speaking with Mr. Lockwood himself. The man was as nervous as a cat, his face pale and drawn, his voice quivering as he recounted the events of the night. But Poirot could see beyond the fear. There was something about Lockwood's story that didn't quite add up. The businessman had been eager to involve Poirot, almost too eager, and there was a subtle hesitation in his words that suggested he was hiding something. Poirot's mind quickly sifted through the possibilities. Was Mr. Lockwood a victim of his own negligence, or was there something more insidious at play? He examined every detail of the estate, every inch of the property, every piece of furniture, and every possible entry point. But no matter where he looked, he found no evidence of a break-in. The locks had not been tampered with. The windows had not been opened. There was no sign of struggle, no trace of a thief. It wasn't until Poirot spoke with the housekeeper that a clue finally emerged. The housekeeper had mentioned in passing that she had seen a man lurking near the back gate just before the robbery. But when asked for a description, she was vague. She couldn't recall the man's face clearly, only that he had been tall and thin, dressed in a dark suit. "It was nothing, Monsieur Poirot," she had said, "just a figure I saw in the shadows." Poirot's mind raced as he thought through the possibilities. A shadowy figure? Someone who knew how to move undetected, someone who was both familiar with the estate and with the people who worked there. The clues were small, but they were enough to begin unraveling the mystery. But still, There was something about the whole situation that felt off, as if the truth was just beyond his grasp. As Poirot sat back in his chair, looking over the final report of the case, he allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. It had been a case of intellect, of deduction, of seeing beyond the obvious. It had been the perfect puzzle, a puzzle that only Poirot could solve, and in the end, it was not the crime itself that had been perfect. It was the detective who had unraveled it.